Hey YouTube, it's Justin, aka Demonic Sweaters. Third time filming this intro here. First time the neighbor's dog started freaking out. Second time there's a police emergency outside, so all kinds of noises happening and keep having to start the video over again. Thus is the life of New York City, so I can't wait to move out of this place. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started with this video. Some of you may have seen my previous videos about converting my Tama Club-JAM Flyer into an electronic kit using the Alesis Nitro Module, as well as some D-Drum red shot triggers, some Pintech PC series cymbals, as well as a TC series cymbal here. And before I had a Pintech TC series being used as the hi-hat, and I was using a Go E-Drum hi-hat controller, which didn't work, but they were going to send me a replacement part that was going to make it work with the Alesis module. Though I still hadn't received that part from Go E-Drum, one of the commenters in my last video mentioned how the company Tama, who makes, they're a music store in Germany, and they're actually a really great store. I've ordered several things from them in the past, or here recently, and they always deliver to New York City very quickly from Germany in like 1 or 2 days, which is crazy. But they had their Millennium MPS-850 hi-hat, basically a floor model there on sale, so I was like, crap, I'll just pick this thing up and try it myself, because I heard that they work good, and I figured I would give it a shot. Now, I got the hi-hat pad and the controller pad. The hi-hat pad was not refurbished, but it was like a floor model, so that one was cheaper. It was like 40 bucks, and the controller, I think, was like $80 or somewhere around there. So not terribly expensive, for what you get. It's a very nice pad. It feels really good. It's got its own clutch that it comes with that keeps it from spinning around while it's on the stand. And then the controller itself is very well made. It's very heavy duty. It's got a metal inside, which the Go E-Drum is kind of all plastic, and it feels much lighter than this one. And I'm just gonna let this siren go by. Okay, so as I was saying, the controller feels really good. And so far, yes, it does work, I would say 99% perfectly with the Alesis Nitro Mesh, except for one thing. I cannot get the splash to function. And the splash is when you quickly push down on the hi-hat pedal and let it come back up, and you get a psh, like a splash sound from the hi-hat. For some reason, I can't get it to do that. I can get the closed sound, I can get the fully open sound, I can get the halfway open sound, and I can get the sound when you push on the pedal of it closing, but I just can't get it to do the splash. And I looked in the manual for the Millennium MPS-850, whatever it's called, and it does do a splash, so I'm not sure, maybe it's just a different, a little bit different configuration for the Alesis Nitro Mesh module compared to their module, and it just doesn't work. But if that's the case, I can live with it like that. It's really not that bad, and I, honestly, I barely use the splash function to begin with, so I can live with it like that. It does feel very, very good, and it functions in every other way except for that. So I'm pretty happy with it. I'm still going to try out the Go E-Drum controller when it comes, but I have a couple other things coming too that I maybe will be trying that Go E-Drum controller with something else, possibly in the future, but just a little hint, maybe a Roland module, but we'll see about that later on. Okay, so other things that I've changed since the last video is now I have triple ply mesh heads on the toms. The kick and the snare are still the Aquarian single ply heads, and they do work good. The triple plies I got off of eBay, and they are very nice. I think having thicker heads, mesh heads, I think you get a better response from the clip-on triggers because they tend to vibrate a little bit less. So if you're going to do something like this, I do recommend getting either a double or a triple ply mesh head rather than the single ply like I did on the snare and kick. Though I have no issues whatsoever with the kick drum. So maybe a kick drum you can get away with a single ply, but you are going to obviously need to replace it faster if you're using a single ply. Though I have an Aquarian kick pad on mine, so that should make it last quite a bit longer. And a kick pad is basically like a little Kevlar pad that protects the bass drum head, and so the beater hits that rather than the head. So I think with that on there, it'll probably last me a couple of years at least. So for the cymbals, and some of this may just be little variations that you would kind of expect, like if you're building your own kit. Like the weird thing is this crash, my right crash over here, is way more sensitive than the left crash in the module. So I have to turn the sensitivity a lot lower on this one than I did on this one. Now this may just have to be, or this may just be like variances in the trigger sensitivity on the, you know, manufacturing of the cymbals, even though these are the exact same model. But, you know, sometimes things like that happen. But it is totally fixable within the module. The snare, one thing I've noticed about the snare drum is you want to make sure that you definitely, if you're using these red shot triggers, don't over tighten your snare or anything. Don't over tighten any of the drums, because then you'll start to get double triggers. Basically, you want to keep them right around like a medium tension, not too tight, not too loose. But if they're too tight, if you start hearing double triggers, one of the first things you can do is just start loosening the lugs a little bit, and a lot of times they're going to go away if you have the drums muffled from the inside. So that was another thing that I learned in the previous video, was about muffling the drums and keeping the resonance out of them, because when you have a bottom head resonating up against the top head, that will also cause double triggers. So you want to make sure you have something inside the drums or mesh heads on top and bottom. But for me, I just have mesh heads on the top, so I have to muffle them. Okay, I just wanted to show you guys a little more close-ups here. Now, this is the controller here, and like the Go E drum, it also is a 1/4 inch output from the hi-hat controller. So you do need a headphone adapter to make that work. And this controller also is powered, which is interesting. It doesn't come with a power supply, but it comes with this little cable splitter that you can run from your module power supply that basically splits the power to be able to go to the module and to the hi-hat controller at the same time. So that works. The hi-hat pad plugs in right here, and basically what you do is you just put it on there, and it just moves up and down like a normal hi-hat, and it pushes down the little button inside the hi-hat controller. And it works really well, actually, and it feels great. Like, these hi-hats, they're very solid, very well made, and very thick, and they're kind of heavy, you know, but it's nice. There's a spring inside the controller as well that helps spring back the hi-hat, so it's not just your hi-hat stand that's springing it back. It's kind of the combination of the both. Now, the one thing, though, what I had to do on mine is, you'll notice there's like a stack of felts underneath of it, because the hole that's inside of this controller doesn't fit over the plastic washer that's on the Tama hi-hat stands. It may on some other hi-hat stands, so basically it won't fit down over top of that. So rather than have it sit on this skinny plastic thing, I just stacked up some felts on there, and that seemed to take care of that. You also have to lower your hi-hat quite a bit, because this is basically the top of the hi-hat stand, and then you'll notice that there's like a good 8 or 9 inches of stuff, you know, before you get to the top of the hi-hat. So one of those things, but yeah, it's cool. I mean, it works really good. And like I said, it comes with its own clutch, which is a special clutch that has a locking mechanism so it won't spin back. I mean, it moves a little bit, but when you have it closed and you're playing, it's very solid. So that's pretty much it. You know, in addition to the heads and the hi-hat stand, everything is pretty much like it was, and it still sounded really good. I messed around with the snare a little bit. I had one extra D-drum trigger, and I tried putting a different piezo, or however you say it, in it, and I really didn't make too much of a difference. I saw another video about somebody doing that with these triggers, and I thought I would give it a shot because I had an extra one, but I really didn't think it made that big of a difference, and actually I felt like that it mistriggered more with the new piezo in there, or piezo, and so I figured, you know, it's best just to stay with the stock D-drum triggers. And I actually think these red shot triggers work really well. You know, I've heard mixed reviews of them, but my experience, if you're using them correctly, they seem to work very, very well. Especially on the kick drum. Well, I mean, on everything. Right now, the way I have it set up, I'm getting no double triggers. They're very sensitive, and they work really, really good. I mean, you have to mess with the velocity settings and the different parameters within the module to get everything kind of working the way it should, but they do function very, very well. Let's see, what else? The cymbals, you know, this is another thing. These Pintech PC series cymbals, I think, are great. It's kind of weird on Amazon. A lot of the Pintech stuff has very, very poor reviews, But I think a lot of those are just coming from people that just don't understand electronic drums or know how to use them, because if you read a lot of the reviews, they're kind of saying stuff that you know is just not right. Like one person said they weren't velocity sensitive, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Of course they are. Like all triggers are velocity sensitive. But anyway, let's go ahead and I'm just going to do some drumming for you guys so you guys can hear it a little bit more. I haven't programmed a lot of kits yet. I only have 2 custom kits in here so far. But the one is the Driving Songs custom kit, and the other one is the 60s custom kit, both of which I've shown you guys how to do on my channel. So if you want to check those out, you can. But yeah, that's going to be all for today. I just wanted to show you guys the updates and do a little bit of playing for y'all. Okay, I said y'all. All right, so that's my update on the Tama Club-JAM Nitro Mesh drum set that I've been making. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below. It's been a really fun project, and I'm really happy with it so far. And I have a lot of electronic drum projects in the works coming up, so be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Click the like and the bell icon so you get notified every time I upload new content. And if you want to support me, the best way to do so, besides watching this channel, is to go to my record label, which is anthillrecordings.bandcamp.com. You can download some of my music there, and I do that rather than doing Patreon because I prefer you guys to get something in return easily, like my music. So Patreon is all this complicated stuff you have to set up, so I just much rather send you guys to my record label than go there and support Bandcamp as well. I think they're a good company. So anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Hopefully you all have a great day, and we'll see you really soon.